ago, that's what you were known as, a prison guard.
Yeah.
Suddenly you become a corrections officer. Suddenly, instead of a prison, you work in a corrections institution or correctional facility.
Right.
I've been getting a lot of mail lately from convicts. It's amazing because I'm so outspoken in my desire to see the death penalty, to see longer sentences, to see an end to parole, and yet from Fishma, a place near Bedford Hills, to Taconic,
Right.
from Greenhaven, from Dannemora, from Rikers, from Attica, and one other place escapes me at the moment. I have been getting fan mail from these guys. Now, what does that mean to you?
I really don't know how to interpret that, but...
It means that, but I'll tell you, I'm just guessing, Mike. It just means, to me, I suspect what it means is that these guys, they themselves know that I'm right. Even though they're on the other side of the law, they know. They say, hey, this guy knows where it's at. And they have a certain respect for somebody that knows where it's at. They don't respect these limp-wristed, pigeon-lipped. You know, I get so upset sometimes. Here I'm supposed to be a communicator, you know, a professional person on the radio. I get so upset sometimes I can hardly talk, and especially on this subject, because I can't believe when I read about the Alex Mengel case or something like that, I can't believe that this goes on.
Yeah, yeah.
Then, of course, you obviously aren't listening to the program then.
Well, I do. I listen to it.
Oh, isn't that strange?
Oh, yes, I do. I listen to it as much as I can.
Isn't that interesting?
But that's why I'm calling, because maybe you don't realize, because I don't know if you...
Oh, I realize, but listen, I've been around a little too long. I've paid my dues.
I guess so.
I'm not going to suffer fools at this stage of my career.
No, but I think some of these people... No, I wouldn't say they're fools.
Well, no.
Some of them are honest with you, but you don't have the patience.
That's right.
See, this is it. But then...
Hey, Florence, I'm agreeing with you. I don't. Look, life is too short. As it is, I have some problems sitting here at this time of night.
I can imagine. I know, because as I say, at times it...
Okay, Florence, enough already. Enough. It's getting boring.
Well, see, that's what I'm...
Not to me, Florence. Hey, look, you know the easiest thing to me? I tell you, the easiest thing to me would be to sign on the program, turn on a TV set, or read a good book, or do like one other talk show host did, play, what is that? Oh, good heavens. How is that? Crossword puzzles. Or talk to the gentleman of distinction at the controls, because George is a very sociable guy. I'm sure we could talk up a lot of things.
No, I don't mean...
You know, it just, when you're all through, go, very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
That would be the easy thing to do.
Yeah, well...
But you see, I pay attention and I respond.
I know you do.
Yeah. Of course, if I did it that way, Florence, nobody would be listening, and then I would have to find some real work.
Well, I think you would have a pretty good audience.
You do, huh, Florence? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just heard from my new manager, my agent, Florence, who's going to conduct... Okay, Florence, your broom has just shown up. Get going.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. For a minute, I thought it was 12. Oh, well, it will be in an hour. Good. We will continue right after the news on Talk Radio 77. Help. Okay, let's all say the Long Island number together. Ready? 437. Now, come on, together. 4, 3... No, don't just go 4, 3... No, really. Crisp. 4, 3, 7. WABC. That's it. That's good. That's better. And the northern suburbs, 667. WABC. And now, just for old time's sake, oofa. Remember, on the count of 3, oofa. 1, 2, 3. Oofa. Very good. There, that expiates a lot of hostility when you say oofa. Apparently, I don't say oofa enough, eh? It sounds like this. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I see. In other words, you were back in Chicago.
I was a little kid.
Yeah. You weren't old enough.
That's right.
In the Second World War.
That's right.
Oh, what about the Korean War, Bob?
Where are we going with this?
I'm leading to a question, if you don't mind.
All right. Okay. You want an answer? Okay. I was in the Naval Air Corps. This guy, what was his name? John? Did you hear John? David, he's a persona non grata because we go over and over. This is the guy, this is the anti-Semite. This is the anti-Semite who accuses me of lying about my nationality and all sorts. There's no place for him. We don't need him. So he is a persona non grata. Ladies and gentlemen, you will never hear that creep on this program again. Okay? Yeah, all right. If you want to hear him, you'll have to tune in elsewhere. You're not going to hear him here. There's nothing in my contract that says I have to talk to slime.
Both have the same temper. What can I learn from you? I also like the man that comes on after you.
Well, that's fine. Well, then what you could do is have a little timer to remind you to switch back.
The thing is this.
Because I'm not going to change.
The only thing that we can do in this world, Bob, is if we can't listen to everybody's point of view, how can we possibly form our own? And if you could just admit that to me and to the public.
No, there's nothing I have to admit to you or the public. I am what I am. Remember, Popeye? I am what I am because I am what I am. Hey, Popeye the Sailor.
But I could be Olive Oil. The thing is...
You know, I'll tell you something. I'll tell you one of the most boring subjects is somebody like you calling and expecting to give me instant see the light. I've seen the light. I think this lady's right. I'm having a spiritual awakening here on the air, and I tell you, I'm going to be. I mean,
that would be the world's worst thing for you.
That's right. And you want to know something? I'm going to give you a rest.
Listen, I wanted to ask you. The other night, you said that Stockman vindicated himself as far as the VA was concerned.
No, I didn't say as far as the VA. I didn't say as far as the VA was concerned. I said as far as the military... Hold it, Dominic. As far as the military pensions are concerned.
What's the matter with the pension?
Well, they're just swollen. That's what's the matter with them.
Are you sensitive about the military, Bob?
Hey, Gavone. Gavone, hey, dummy, listen to this. 1976, pension $7.3 billion.
What's that mean?
1986, $18.3 billion.
Cops get a pension, Bob? The senators get a pension?
Listen.
These guys serve their country, Bob.
Hey, you know what? You're a real Gavone, a stupid, dumb Gavone. That's what you are.
I don't have an answer to that.
That's what you are. Okay, outside of that, you're fine. Anyway, that slams the lid on things for the day. I'm glad reminding you your influence counts. Use it. Get Gaddafi!
Yeah. They're dropping dead like flies over there. I don't know. Maybe there's a conspiracy or something.
Well, you know, the florists of America are going to fly the flags at half-staff because Chernenko must have been a florist. Every time you saw him on TV, some Gavone was giving him a bouquet of flowers.
That's when you see him every time, like, hardly ever even see the guy. The guy dies, like, he could have been dead for a week, and...
Hooray for emphysema! Okay, listen, thank you, Mike.
Have a good night, bye-bye.
Okay. There's another Fink dead. Chernenko. But so what? They're always replaced by other Finks.
The thing, see, we talk about it at work a lot, you know.
Really?
Yeah. You know, I have a few, I think you'd call them...
Where do you work?
I freelance here in New York. And, I talk about it, and the thing that everybody really gets back to is they say that before these guys that are in there now took over, they're saying that the previous government, they're really some bad people in charge, and they really didn't have a choice. And when the people in charge now took over, at least they offered them something better than what they had. And the Americans were supporting the old government. And, I think that was...
If we were supporting the Somoza government, the Somoza government would have stayed in power.
Uh-huh.
So don't give me that argument about how bad Somoza was. He was bad. Who's saying he wasn't bad?
Yeah, but why are we supporting these other guys under the country?
The Contras?
Yeah.
For very good reason. The Contras want to overthrow these skunks, these Ortegas, and the Contras have not embraced Fidel Castro. What's so hard to figure out?
Marxist communist government. And I was just curious as to, where you get your information.
Where do you get yours, Pat?
I lived there for 10 years.
I see. When did you leave?
In 1984.
What were you doing there?
I was a nurse.
And you think the Ortegas are peachy keen guys, huh?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they are...
Well, there's nothing I can tell you because you're obviously sympathetic to the regime down there. So you're sympathetic to the regime. That's really nothing I can tell you. I'm just glad, though, that you got out of that country, and I'm sure you are, too.
No, I plan on going back.
You're going back?
Yes.
When?
Probably next year.
What, next year? You mean we have to wait a whole year to get you out?
Well, I have reasons to be here in the United States.
Oh, that's too bad. I'm really sorry, because you belong there with the beloved Ortegas and their swine communist government.
But could I just say one thing? I am not in favor of any particular government except a government that is in favor of the people. And the people...
Well, that sounds like a very, very clever slogan. I'll have to remember that sometime.
Well, it's...
Especially if I'm plotting a coup d'etat. That slams the lid on things for today. Tomorrow we'll be back at our regular time, 9 o'clock. Until then, this is Bob Grant reminding you, your influence counts. Use it. Get Gaddafi. With all this enthusiasm over the change of leadership in the Kremlin, and by the way, let's all give a cheer for emphysema. Hooray! It's nice to see those communist finks the way they look best, laid out in a coffin. To make no mistake, Chernenko may have been feeble, but if you know anything about his background, he was just another Russian communist fink. But I've decided that since Gumbada from Yonkers has retired from calling the Bob Grant Show, I'm going to make you the Gumbada from Bensonhurst.
That's it. You got it.
Okay.
Right on the money. Listen, I wanted to talk to Stonada here, this Gil de Lucia.
Ashaurada.
Yeah, this guy is going to get eaten up alive, Bob. Number one, he's got to realize in this city, the Italian people have got Amaloiki on us. We got the curse on us, okay? Such people like Mario Biaggi has brought it on us with his many romances. The real estate dealings of John Zaccaro and his lovely wife Geraldine put it on with a trowel, Ferraro. You know, I tell you, our people have been kicked and punched and pushed down every which way we go. But we're strong, Bob. We keep coming back. And, like a couple of callers before had mentioned, Denny Farrell, he's going to worry about the black people. And he's got a perfect right to do that. Herman Badillo is going to worry for the Puerto Rican people. Ed Koch, we know he's a switch hitter. He goes with the winners in more ways than one. Carol Bellamy, she should be home washing clothes anyway. I don't know what she's doing there. This guy Jimmy Breslin. Have you read some of the columns that he's been writing?
Well, I'll tell you something. A doctor told me once that an overabundance of achita will eat the lining of the stomach.
Now, you see this Jimmy Breslin?
So I got to take Breslin in small and limited doses, far and few between.
Yeah. Bob, I want to tell you something about Jimmy Breslin. That beer-guzzling phony from Queens under the L.
By the way, you want to find him some night?
Yeah, I know where to find
him. In McGuire's over there on Queens Boulevard.
Where he is, he goes in that...
I went in there looking for him one time. This is the truth. This is the truth. Long time ago.
Right.
Long time ago. I went in there because somebody had challenged me, and I walked in there, and I got to tell you, about 10 guys ran me out of that joint.
Really?
Yeah, really.
I wouldn't have run you out of that joint if you were with me. My army, I'll tell you right now, because I know that area well. And they're nothing but a bunch of big guzzling phonies. You understand me? Now, I want to say something. Bobby.
Billy, I said it.
Wait, I just to the moment. I got to talk. I like to blow off some steam. This guy's got me really ticked off, this Jimmy Breslin.
How'd we get to Breslin? We were talking about De Lucia. So we
got to Jimmy Breslin. This De Lucia, forget about him. He's going to get eaten up like he's Tsarkolas. The Tsarkolas are going to get him. But I want to tell you something about this Jimmy Breslin. This Jimmy Breslin, he jumps up and down when he's got an article to write about mob figures. Always a knock against the Italians, okay? You see all these articles he wrote, and I want the people to listen to this. The reason he's writing all these articles, because this phony, he was in these guys' pockets. He freeloaded plenty of free meal and plenty of free beer from these guys. These mob figures in Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, all over. This guy was rubbing elbows with the biggest. Now this guy here wants to write articles. This guy is nothing but a disgraziato. This Jimmy.
Well, his first wife was named Dortico, Rosemary Dortico.
Right? He's got a vendetta against Italian people. And he'll pay for it one day. He's going to pay. Because this guy is nothing but a two-faced phony. He talks about the politicians in his city. He's the biggest phony of them all, this Jimmy Breslin. I'll one day under the out. I'll give him a piece of my mind, Bob.
Well, listen, we're going to call Jimmy, and we're going to tell him what you told him, and if he wants to respond, he can respond.
Come on here, because I'm ready for a 15-round title fight. And that'll be a day the guy who drinks Peel's beer, Bert and Harry's cousin, Jimmy Breslin's going to take me on. I'll straighten him out, but real...
Well, you know, listen...
This Peel's drinking phony.
All right, I'll send him your regards, Billy.
All right, Bob, send him my regards and send him a little Dorothy. You know off the lettuce? You know the little end of the lettuce, the hot part?
Yeah, what do you call that?
Dorothy.
Hey, that's a new one.
Let him choke on it for me.
That's a new one.
Take care. Stop.
Hey, Billy, yeah, I will, but Billy, you know, I tell you, I want to make you feel better.
What, Bob?
The Yankees are 0-5.
Bob, listen, don't make me buy a fresh supply of Mylanta.
Okay.
It didn't start yet.
Okay.
We'll take care of it. Don't worry.
I'm not worried.
Listen, another thing before I sign off. Your back is well covered.
Thank you, Billy.
Don't worry about nothing.
Okay, Bill.
All right, start the barn.
You too. Billy, I'm Bensonhurst. I wonder what he really thinks about Jimmy Breslin. You say boycott the subway, but then what? What do they use?
I know it's bad, but something should be done. I know they want more money. From what I hear, there's going to be a strike in April 1st. Possible strike if they don't negotiate. Now, okay, give them more money, but
oh, really?
Service.
For what? Give John Law's bunch of loafers more money? For what?
All right.
So that they can bring pillows in when they go to sleep?
I realize that, but at least
the transit workers of the New York subway system are the most overpaid, underworked slobs in the country.
I realize that because
me is that I thought for sure when I heard the news that there would be a hue and cry.
Mm-hmm.
And yet even on this program, which has a pretty high volatility rate, people are accepting it. I'm really surprised.
I hope our conversation now brings the Attorney General in this, because I believe the letter of the law has been broken. You cannot threaten these politicians or elected. I know no politician.
Well, the stage is being set for a lynching of Bernard Goetz.
This is government by mob rule.
Well,
let me close.
You raise a very good point. When someone running for mayor says, we're going to have a candidate who's going to run against you if you don't re-indict him.
That's true.
And then dutifully 2 weeks later, the re-indicting is taking place. You wonder, did it happen in a vacuum? Well, I'll tell you what the answer is going to be. The answer is going to be Denny Farrell's warning had nothing to do with the procedure leading up to the re-indictment.
Uh-huh.
You know that. And really, how can you prove it? I'm not going to give you any editorial comment. I do want you to listen closely, and you'll hear what makes me say it's a cruel joke, the so-called criminal justice system. Quote, the father of one of New York's most notorious criminals shot and killed his girlfriend and then committed suicide as he attempted to escape from prison guards near Milwaukee last night. Willie James Bosket Sr., 45, had been in prison for raping the woman's 6-year-old girl. He allegedly committed the rape while on parole for a double homicide. He's the father of thrill killer Willie Bosket Jr., 23, who has a record in New York that includes murder, attempted murder, escape, and hundreds of robberies committed since the age of 10. The younger Basket's crime spree was the spur that caused the state legislature to enact the law that allows authorities to try juveniles who commit serious crimes as adults. The escape attempt last night took place in a hospital where the elder Basket had been taken after complaining about internal bleeding. His girlfriend, Donna Bernhagen, dressed in a wig and a nurse's uniform, entered the hospital room and pulled a gun on a woman deputy guarding Basket. She freed Basket, who had been handcuffed to the bed, and the two gagged the deputy and locked her in the bathroom. After the deputy waited a suitable amount of time for safety reasons, she rang for assistance using a signal button ordinarily used for patient emergencies, a police spokesman said. Moments later, Basket and Bernhagen were found dead. The deputy was unhurt. Both died of gunshot wounds to the head. The elder Basket had fled to New York after the double homicide and was sentenced to 900 years after he was caught and extradited. The son has been in jail since last October for the attempted mugging of an elderly man. He committed the crime just weeks after he was released from jail for murdering two men on the subway just to see them die. Because he was under 16 when he committed that crime, he got only 5 years. It was outrage over this incredibly light sentence that led to the change in the law. I delivered the story without editorial comment. I would hope I don't have to underline those portions of the story that are absolutely mind-boggling.
Hello?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Hi, this is Michael from Pomona, New York. How are you?
Hello, Michael.
Fine, thank you.
I didn't ask you how you were. I said hello, Michael.
Hello, Bob.
Brad, reminding you, your influence counts. Use it. Get Gaddafi. And says gets under gun again. DA reopens the case. And the question in my mind is just exactly what pressure caused the reopening of the case. Allegedly, according to the DA himself, he's got some new, to quote him, some substantial evidence. Substantial evidence. Some people are going around town saying that a witness has come forth. A witness who had been loath to say anything before. I say, how convenient. But my fellow citizens, I caution you, I urge you to watch this very closely, to be very analytical about it, and tell me if this doesn't smell. Tell me if this doesn't have the odor of political pressure. Tell me if this doesn't reek with a stench of blackmail. Was more than Bob Morgenthau could stand. And Denny Farrell, who sat here in this empty chair that faces me now, who sat here in this empty chair over 2 weeks ago and warned that they were going to get a candidate to oppose Morgenthau if he didn't do something, I guess they're satisfied now.
I think it goes beyond the lawyers. I think you can read. It's like reading hieroglyphics. You know, you read hieroglyphics, Bob, and I read the graffiti in the subways, and I can tell you everything that it means. But the signs are on the wall. They're going for the indictment. They're going for the jugular. They're going to teach Goetz a lesson, because it's not Goetz. It's all of us. How dare you rise up and fight back? How dare you supposedly take the law into your own hands and become even worse than a criminal, him or herself, but an actual vigilante? Can't you see the writing on the wall? It's as Kunstler said the first day when he launched that absurd $50 million lawsuit in the name of Mom Apple Pie and Troy Candy. Remember his words. I don't expect to win this, but I expect anyone else to think twice before they ever, if ever, decide to use force in the defense of their life and property. This is a test for all Americans. I'm going on the bandwagon now, not just getting on a soapbox like a Sunday morning preacher and preach about it. We're starting tomorrow, Bob, and you're the first
arrested. I think it's time that we, the people, bring it to these sleaze bags like Kunstler, and we're doing it, Guardian Angels tomorrow. We're going to block his place of business because you know all the crooks who are going there to be turned loose back in the streets. I think that should be stopped. And we're going to take it to these mail-order ministers on Sunday mornings before their congregations, and we want a report on their verification, their history, their mental stability, their criminal records. Put them under the microscope. Let's see them squirm. Let's see them, how they react when they're being questioned and sequestered. And I think suddenly if we can muster the same kind of vocal and tactical air support that occurred in the very beginning when all America was outraged, we can once again push those winds so that the likes of Morgenthau and Koch, can you imagine that? Backwards, forwards, every which ways. I'd be ashamed to look at myself in the face. In fact, Bob, I have more respect, believe it or not, for Mr. Sharpton, Mr. Dowtry, and Mr. Kunstler, because at least they're on one side and they stick to it. These other Herkimer jerks, backwards, forwards, every which way. Come on, guys. Get off the horse. Decide which way you're going to be. Stop literally dragging us from one extreme to the other.
Well, I tell you, will wonders never cease. I never thought that I would be able to say, hooray for Congressman Claude Pepper. But I do say hooray for the congressman. And it was a pleasant surprise to learn that he did make that statement about Nicaragua. And I can't tell you how gratified I am. And his statement about what we should do about Daniel Ortega and those bunch of Sandinista slime in Nicaragua lets me stand up and say hooray for you, Congressman.
Going to be a terrific uproar. Morgenthau is going to be in trouble. Mayor Koch is going to be in trouble. Commissioner Ward is going to be in trouble.
Wait a minute. Let's take you step by step, Dorothy.
Okay.
Will win by default. Koch will win because there's as putrid as his performance has been in this case, as craven as he has become for a third term, as disappointing as I can't, I'm so glad. Dorothy, let me tell you something. Here I'm telling you not to get carried away, and I'm going to get carried. You know what I'm glad about? I'm glad that on the night of December 27th, when the mayor met me outside the studio right here on in the lobby, he hit me with the inevitable crass question, that self-centered, egotistical query, the inevitable, how am I doing?
I know.
And I said, well, Your Honor, not as good as you were. He said, what? He was absolutely, he couldn't believe it. Well, I'm glad that I said that because I would have had more respect. I agree with Curtis Sliwa. I would have had more respect for him if he had taken a position, even if I disagreed with it, and stuck with it. But he has blown this way, he's blown that way, but he'll win because the alternative is even worse. Said Ben Ward's Ben Ward has got it made. Ben Ward could do no wrong.
No.
As long as Ben Ward doesn't lose the pigmentation in his skin, he's mistake-proof.
Bob,
He's immune.
Bob.
Said to me, turn on WLIB. I've never heard such racism, such anti-Semitism, such hatred, such venom pouring out of a station. In fact, I was moved to call and lodge an official complaint with my congressman, you should pardon the expression, Robert Torricelli.
By the way, be kind to Torricelli. He's got water on the knee, from getting on his knees for Daniel Ortega and the rest of that scum down in Managua, Nicaragua. Slams the lid on things for today. Until tomorrow, this is Bob Grant reminding you, your influence counts. Use it. Get that skunk, Gaddafi!
He'll finally make up his mind.
Now, listen, anybody that ever, says, gee, we have an actor in the White House, what's so unusual? You know what? I've been interviewing politicians for all of my career, and they are the greatest actors in the world.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, they make Laurence Olivier look like a prop boy stumbling over himself.
What I really like to talk to you is about, what I told your producer I wanted to talk to you about was every day or every once in a while in the paper, you see a picture, and I use this term loosely, of this young man. He's got a cap, and he's got a gown on,
And he looks like...
Oh, Darrell Cabey.
That's right. You know who...
Yeah, Darrell Cabey. I guess that's the only photo ever taken of Darrell Cabey when he had a cap and gown on, and they keep showing that picture.
And it's getting kind of tiresome.
Yeah. Why didn't they show a picture of him getting that record that he has amassed?
I don't know.
With the arrests. Why didn't they show him mugging? Why didn't they show him doing some of those things?
Who's paying his hospital bill?
Good question. I'm afraid you and I are.
Yeah, probably. All right. Listen, maybe he'll make that trip to Spingola's yet.
Okay, the Spingola's. Mike goes back to the days when Renato and Gino Spingola announced the opening of a great complex. Renato Spingola, the Undertaker, Gino Spingola running the pizza parlor, and whenever they'd have a wake, Gino would cater the wake.
That's right.
That's right, the Spingolas.
There we go.
Okay, legal department, look up the Spingolas. Thank you very much,
Have a
Mike.
good night, Bob.
All right. By the way, speaking of stockbrokers, if anybody has been driving in the Hewlett, Long Island area, and you see a pea green 1946 Studebaker with the license number SOB 696969, it is a vehicle driven by my former broker, Harry Hazarai. Mr. Hazarai is so contemptible, the citizens of Hewlett won't even let him purchase a home, so he's pitched a tent somewhere out there. But if you're driving a Sherman tank and you see a pea green Studebaker 1946 with those license numbers, SOB 6969, run it down, will you? I thank you.
Oh,
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
This is Helen. I was listening to the fellow that was on, maybe two people ahead of this last person, and he was discussing the fact that the Chinese have so many children and things of that sort, you know. And I was just wondering, maybe if he enjoyed his sex life more, he might not feel that way, you know?
Well, you can enjoy sex without having children, or haven't you heard?
Yeah, I know that too, but you see, most people that...
No, that isn't the case at all. It's just that people are sick and tired of paying taxes while brood sows keep producing children every 9 months like on schedule.
Yeah, but most people are not like white people. We don't like abortions and things and hysterectomies and having sex.
By the way, you can be sterilized without having a hysterectomy.
I mean, we don't, most people...
I don't know what is we? What are you speaking for, a committee?
Well, I'm talking about most dark...
What do you got, about 10,000 people in the room with you, with the we?
I'm talking about most dark races of people. They don't do all these things, have abortions.
Well, if they have their hands in my pocket, it's high time that I have a right to tell them to stop it.
No, you don't have a...
Hey, wait a minute. I'm going to stop paying taxes then for the welfare. The prenatal, the natal, the postnatal, and then in 10, 15 years, they're marauding people on the subway. Come on, Helen, get off the phone. I'm probably paying for your phone call, too. Can you believe that? I could have said more, but I'm getting lazy in my old age, and I don't want to be answering the phone call all day tomorrow. Why'd you say what you said?
Two suggestions. These muggers and these mutants and these thieves, why can't they be put into the army? What would be so terrible if they were put into...
Well, now, do we want an army full of muggers, mutants, thieves?
I think they would be straightened out. Number two, if I may.
I mean, do we want to think that our armed services have in their midst this type of lowlife?
Don't you think they would be straightened out?
Are they going to be straightened out? What's going to straighten them out?
Well, this is only another one of my...
I mean, a mutant is a mutant. You don't... By definition, you don't straighten out you don't demutinize a mutant.
One more thing in jest, if I may. Why don't you talk about Obalich anymore?
Obalich?
Yeah.
I kind of gave up. I guess I'll never find Obalich. You're a stuffy little putrid Squirt, that's what you are.
Don't get a grave tone when you talk about graffiti either, Bob, because I'm from Canada, and I love that because, there's no graffiti in Canada, but I love when you take up such a grave tone of voice when you talk about graffiti. Like, that's amazing.
I don't like sanctimonious.
You in this city.
I don't like sanctimonious individuals.
Oh, you don't?
No, I don't.
We'll get right.
Hey, as a matter of fact, I haven't said this to anybody all day today. Get off the phone, you creep.
And I noticed in the paper yesterday that ex-President Nixon was giving up his Secret Service.
And you want to know something?
Yes.
Are you ready for this?
Yes.
The rumor I hear is that he heard this discussion on the program a couple of weeks ago when we talked about it. I got to check this out. I don't know that it's true, but we talked about the money to maintain this unnecessary security at taxpayers' expense for ex-presidents.
Well, you were successful because he said it's $3 million.
That's right, and they say cheapskate Ford might do the same thing.
Well, why not Lady Bird Johnson and Onassis?
Oh, Lady Bird never would. Lady Bird, she never would. She wouldn't give up a thing.
Right.
And Jimmy Carter, well, we'll have to work on him.
No hope and no help. I know of people caught up in the system like this. And I agree with everything that has basically been said because I'm of a conservative background myself. But there are people in there that are caught up, and there seems to be no hope for them. Do you have a comment on it?
Yes, there are a lot of people there's no hope for. Some are in jail, some are not in jail, some will go to jail, some will never go to jail, some commit crimes, some don't commit crimes. There are many people who lead lives of total desperation. There are many people who have very little hope, no hope. There are very many people who live in despair for one reason or another.
Yeah, but the ones that get caught up in the system and wind up in jail that are not guilty of any kind of a crime.
All right, listen, I'll tell you what I want you to do. I want you to get all the people who are not guilty, and I want to have a meeting. As a matter of fact, I know a telephone booth that we could have it in. It's right across from WABC. Thank you very much for your call, and don't get the blood on the carpet that's coming out of your heart. That slams the lid on things for today. Until tomorrow, this is Bob Grant, reminding you, your influence counts. Use it. Get Gaddafi.
Bob?
Yes.
Good evening. How are you? Julian of Washington Heights.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, anybody who asks how I am, I think I'll just hang up. Not that I want to be unsociable, but we have so many people who want to talk about something. I'm sure that you're not calling to find out how I am.
How do you feel?
Eleanor Bumpers was in the process of attacking someone who could easily have been killed when Stephen Sullivan fired the gun. You know what? You're not even aware of the facts in the Paul Favor case. His partner, Officer Oates, testified.
Steve Sullivan do the same thing?
Well, Steve Sullivan's, again, I'm going to tell you, it's a different case. In the case of Steve Sullivan, he was aiding an officer who was being attacked. In the case of Paul Favor, he was shot by an officer who had the gun cocked.
Who was protecting society from being...
Now, you know what? You're a dummy. A dummy. The officer is suspended because he violated police rules which forbid the uncocking of a gun at that time. Why are you trying to compare apples and oranges?
Can I change the subject?
No, you can't. I'm sick of you. Get off my phone.
Miss Fallon said she wanted to know the reaction of people about Bernard Goetz, and I'd like to express my reaction. I'm 70 years old.
Why you tell me your age? Why is it that anybody who's 70... Why do people have to tell their age? I don't understand.
Sorry, Bob.
I'm sorry.
Tony from Manhattan. Bob, I might say a few things to you that might set you off, but I don't want you exploding off in any loud emotional outbursts.
Tony, you let me worry about that. You just say what you want to say. Don't give me a script ahead of time. Tell me how I'm supposed to react.
Okay. All right, Bozo. Let me start it off. You know something, Bob? Like, it seems like everyone that's pro-Goetz that's been calling your program, you pacify them like you're some, sweet daddy. And then those...
Are you on something?
Oh, are you...
Are you high on something?
No, I don't use anything, sir.
You don't have to, I guess. You just take a deep breath, huh?
I'm a student. I'm a student. I won't set it off.
Are you putting on an act?
No, I'm trying to get into conversation.
Is your name really Tony, or is this a shtick?
My name is Anthony. Anthony.
Oh, okay, Anthony. All right.
I'll let you call me Tony.
No, I don't want to call you Tony.
Okay. All right, let's get into our conversation, Bob. Okay, first of all, I just wanted to make you realize that, the $2...
Nobody makes anybody realize anything.
You'll interrupt me, Bob?
If I choose to interrupt you, I will.
Okay. I just wanted to let you know that, I've been listening to your program, and I've been listening...
I don't like the intimidating tone to your voice. I don't like it.
No, I would intimidate you because I have something great to tell you.
No, the self-importance that you give yourself. I don't know what where you're coming from.
Well,
but you have this sanctimonious tone, like, I've been listening to you, blah, blah, blah. Just say what you want to say.
Okay, Bob. Bob, you're the laughing stock from one end of the radio dial to the other. All the other talk shows, they're laughing at you. They know that you are on Bernard Goetz's tail all over him, thinking that you had a winner. And he started running off with his big mouth, and it made you look like a complete idiot. It really did, and
Well, you'd like to think that in your convoluted attempt to foster some semblance of thinking, you'd like to think that. You say you talk about Goetz as though he's a horse in a horse race.
Bob, you're trying to sound like an intellectual.
Okay, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that thing.
Yes, hello, Bob?
Yes, Frank.
Hello, Bob, now that old schifoso, Konstantin Chernenko, has finally become a good red, and he's succeeded by the new thug, the new outlaw, that fat slob, Mikhail Gorbachev, the liberals in this country, the pinks, are beginning to sing the same old, tired Soviet siren song of lies, distortion, propaganda, and disinformation. They're trying to depict this thug as cutting some type of Kennedy-esque figure, as being some type of reformer who's going to bring the winds of change into the blood-stained halls of the Kremlin. They've got to be either pathetically naive or just incredibly stupid not to understand that one does not climb the pinnacle of power to the top of the Kremlin without cutting a bloody path of murder, mayhem, and terrorism. Their political system, and I can't believe these jerks don't understand it, is a Byzantine labyrinth of poisoning, murders, and disappearance. About this guy that they put in power was nothing more than a gopher for Urian Dropov, getting him his coffee and his cigarettes. And after he poisoned Chernenko, they rewarded him by giving him the top position over there. He ran the agricultural system for 6 years, this great reformer, this Soviet-type Kennedy that's going to change everything. And each year, it was worse than the last. Now, in this country, he would have been kicked out in his fat butt, but instead over there, they reward failure because he's nothing more than a cheap political party hack. If we were engaged in them with a war of ideology, surely by now would we have not won? Their ideas are bankrupt. There are no communists left over there. The only communists left are the appeasement lackeys of them in Western Europe, and these liberals over here who Lenin so rightly called useful idiots. Nobody over there believes in it. Their wars of pan-Slavic hegemony and genocide in Afghanistan continue. The third world prostitutes in the UN, the jungle Stalins that they support, have kept quiet about it. In Vietnam, in Laos, and Kampuchea, where the Vietnamese lackeys of the Moscow warmongers continue their war of aggression, they seek to replace the French as the colonialist power of that area. Their economic system is a total shambles. They fight like jackals for what's left of the moth-eaten carcass of Mother Russia. Bob, the fact of the matter is, if we look at their empire that stretches from Nicaragua up to Vladivostok, if we see the atrocities and abominations that they've committed, we must come to the conclusion that they are a brutal, barbaric, subhuman nation. They are a race of cowards, and they've spawned a nation of cowards. They must be dealt with the utmost brutality and be pushed back behind the Ural Mountains by bayonet point if need be. And if these liberals are that stupid in this country to believe that you can deal with
with a nation of thugs, that this idiot who was trained in their system is going to be any different than they deserve to wear the yoke and shackle that they're going to put on them one day.
Well, Frank, you're absolutely right when you talk about the media's desire to imbue in Gorbachev any kind of Western-style political thought, philosophy, inclination. What saddens me, Frank, is you would have thought by this time, even some of the most idealistic of the lot would have realized that out of that system, which you so accurately describe, out of that system, it's impossible for anybody but the type of individual you describe to come out. Till tomorrow, this is Bob Grant, reminding you, your influence counts. Use it. Get Gaddafi. Kunstler is the same guy that when the North Vietnamese showed to everybody what many of us knew they were all along, no good, murdering, tyrannical, totalitarian communist swine. Mm-hmm. And someone said, why don't you criticize the Hanoi government? Kunstler said, I do not wish to criticize a socialist government in public.
Oh, I know.
Strange man. Thank you.
That I want to use.
Okay.
I met you one time at D'Amato. Do you remember? Years ago, you were there with the Gumbarov.
Oh, Gumbarov, that's when we had a Moulignan eating contest.
Well,
and the great Dino of Oakhurst, New Jersey, won the Moulignan eating contest.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah.
That slams the lid on things for tonight until tomorrow. This is Bob Grant reminding you your influence counts. Use it. Get Gaddafi. That although I do not like working these hours, that should come as no shock to anybody, I'm delighted that I'm going to be here talking on the radio this particular night. Because I know for sure I will avoid the nausea that would sweep over me if I had to somehow or other watch a portion of any part of one of the most narcissistic enterprises in the history of Western civilization. I can think of nothing that is more insulting than that extravaganza, that orgy of self-idolatry, than the Academy Awards. Real quick, who won last year? Real quick, who won the year before? Who the heck remembers? And furthermore, who cares? And the media hype, it's ridiculous. Well, the excitement is growing here. It might be, what's her name? Sally Fields? Every time I see her, I think any minute she's going to genuflect. I mean, it's just inane.
Well, Dave, my reason goes back to something Jean Kirkpatrick said in an interview she gave the New York Post back in 1983. She said the main reason why we have to spend so much money to defend ourselves against the Soviet Union is because our biggest corporations, banks, and the government, through the issuance of trade credits, has for a long time been subsidizing the existence of the Soviet economy. And without the subsidization there, the Soviet economy would not be strong enough to keep up these huge military expenditures, and they wouldn't be able to keep up their overseas adventures either. Being that this is the case, I think it's a ripoff to allow these businessmen to make good money billing the Soviets, then come home and ask us for protection money. And for that reason, I think it's a real protection racket. How do you feel about that?
Once again, Ralph, I think you're absolutely absurd and pathetically so.
Well, I'm talking about what Jean Kirkpatrick said.
No, Jean Kirkpatrick is all for the MX. Jean Kirkpatrick is not opposed to the MX. Sorry, Ralph.
I want to make a comment, Bob, about peace and the ramifications of an enduring peace for the world
is beyond our calculations. There are so many things that are needed, but nothing is needed more than peace. And I just want to say that if I were president, I would be there at Geneva. If this man was strong enough to convince the American electorate, the American people, that he should be the president once, and then again 4 years later, he should consider himself strong enough to be there, take along all of these men as his adjuncts, but be there. And I wouldn't care whom the Russians sent. They could send the third-rate politician, but I would give voice to the need for all leaders not to miss the boat, not to miss the opportunity to.
All right, look. You don't have to make a speech about it. It's an idiotic idea, and you know it is, Sam.
I don't know.
First of all, do you know that these negotiations are going on for a long, long time? They're expected to take years. Who's going to... You want to put George Bush in charge while he negotiates? Should he resign as president so that he could be at Geneva, turn things over to Mr. Bush?
Well,
We didn't elect him to be a negotiator at Geneva. We elected him to be president and appoint negotiators. And Max Kampelman is a very fine negotiator.
I didn't...
All negotiators are doing anyway, they're not selling each other on anything. They're having hard horse trading. You don't think he's going to come in and suddenly learn Russian overnight and smile and say, well, and they're going to say, oh, gee, he's cute.
The man...
You know, running for office and campaigning in your own country is one thing, and negotiating with a foreign government, a foreign power, is another.
But the man...
I mean, what's going on? Did somebody put something in the water out there tonight? I don't believe the lack of intelligence that's coming through.
The man has prestige, and the man has sincerity, and he could go and just speak his piece and talk about it more often than he can.
Oh, is there something... listen, I got to find out if there's something else I could do to get paid this kind of money, because I don't know if I could take this idiocy much longer.
Well, that's your interpretation that it's idiocy, you know, but it...
all right, Sam, let's leave well enough alone. Thank you for the call.
Okay.
Was that the original reason for your call?
Well, it's part of it.
I can't believe...
Right.
I can't believe that grown people would waste so much time on something so insignificant, so petty.
Well, he felt put down, like, you know, that...
Well, he was petty and you're being petty.
Well, I'm not being petty. When I talk about... They talk about black coalition, a rainbow coalition, different colors should unite so they can elect a black person for certain jobs. That's all they want. They don't want help for the brown people or the Puerto Ricans or the yellow people. They don't need that kind of help. They got their own strength. All they're doing is trying to advance themselves.
I think I'll go out and come back in again. I tell you, something's a little out of sync tonight. Everything's out of sync here. Thank you very much for your call, I think. I'm beginning to think that almost, not everybody, but almost every person who's called tonight had to certify that they could flunk an IQ test before the operator would let them through. I just can't believe it.
Yes, I want to know everything.
Lawrence Welker annoys you, you listen to him. I mean, gee, you know.
Well, could you turn your eyes away from something even though it's horrifying?
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, as the days dwindle down to a precious few, I'm learning how to do that more and more.
Well, you have to. I can see by the phone calls you.
Oh, yes.
But I'll tell you, you are a lovable man. I'd love to...
Well, that's true. I am lovable. As a matter of fact, I'm going to kiss my left wrist right now.
All right.
Irene Corsala, or whatever, Casorla, has gone around the country saying we should kiss ourselves.
I see.
Now, here's supposed to be a world-renowned psychiatrist to the stars.
Yes.
She claims people call her from all over the world for psychiatric first aid, and she says we should go around kissing ourselves.
I heard that.
Can you believe that?
Well, she gets...
You know, that's why we're in trouble. Because somebody like that writes a book A little sawed-off runt goes around saying, you should kiss yourself and be positive. I mean, Norman Vincent Peale said that 30 years ago. She's coming up with that.
Oh, you're precious. You know that?
Yes.
Really, it's a...
Let's see here. I'll tell you one reason I'm glad I'm not watching the Academy Awards. It's probably a freak show where guys show up with one earring and one ear.
You know, when you were off and on. Are you listening to me?
Yes, I am, Charles. That's why I'm not saying anything. I'm listening.
Okay. The things that I wish to speak to you about is this. I mean, I know that you happen to be a very strong-willed, white, strong, right-winged person. Is that correct?
Charles, I have a feeling we're going to get a shiv here, so let's get it. Let's get the shiv.
Yeah, well, let's get it on.
All right, let's get the shiv. Forget about the preliminaries.
Yes. Come with me.
Charles, are you going to talk, or do I have to go on to another call?
No, you can go on.
Want me to go to another call?
I just wanted to know whether you were a strong-willed, white...
I don't know what the strong-willed bit is.
White, right-winged person.
You make it sound like there's something bad about that.
No. It's sweet.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'm glad you're out there listening, Charles. Thank you. That's Charles out there. Anybody want to interpret Charles's call? Is anybody writing a doctor's thesis on abnormal psychology? We haven't had an American embassy taken over. He was talking about American embassies. We haven't had an embassy taken over.
Worse than that has happened.
Worse than that has happened.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry that you're disappointed. I can't stand these calls where everybody's so mysterious and we're supposed to interpret their pauses. Hello, Bob? Yes. Charles of New York. Sam of New York. Yes. Bob, interpret my pauses. All right. Uh-huh. Oh. And it goes on and on. Talk with...
And it's going to really do good for the business, not only in Staten Island, but also in Manhattan. And
you're talking about the USS Iowa.
The Iowa and its 5 other ships that are coming on.
That's right. A lot...
And well, I don't know why these people really are disagreeing with having the Navy in Staten Island.
Well, it's if people like Marion Friedlander, and Ruth Messenger, who Mayor Koch says they were born against everything. It's just a handful. Then, of course, it's a cockamamie group known as the Coalition for a Nuclear-Free Harbor. I can imagine what that bunch must look like. You've got people who are against everything. They want to repeal the 20th century. They want to repeal everything that America's ever done to better itself.
Right.
It's incredible. The only satisfaction I would get out of a Soviet takeover is to see the looks on their dumb faces.
They started locking up their doors, you know.
Were you in Newport before they had to tear down the Narragansett Hotel? You weren't there during the really juicy days when they used to have 2 sister ships, 2 baby flat tops, the USS Antietam and the Fighting Lady side by side.
Oh, that's long before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And what the sailors from those ships used to do to Providence was a sight to behold. I don't know.
But it wasn't all the sailors, right?
Just some of us, no.
Have a nice day.
Oh, dear. Listen, Steve, I'm glad you called, and I'm glad to hear from you that you're pleased with what's going to happen. Are you still going to be in by 86?
I get out in 89.
Okay, you'll still be there. Then you'll reap some of the benefits.
Sure.
More importantly, Steve, I think you'd agree, so will the good folks of Staten Island and the greater New York area.
That's correct. Okay, Bob.
How are recruitments coming, Steve?
Excuse me?
How are recruitments coming?
Very good. Getting a very high quality people coming in the Navy.
Well, I may be prejudiced, but I think yours is the best branch of the service.
I would agree with that.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Bye.
Until tomorrow, this is Bob Grant reminding you your influence counts. Use it. Get Gaddafi.
That's what Mayor Koch would do. And if you look at what Koch and Cuomo did, they went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, like a needle on a speedometer, gauging the public reaction. Our position has been the same from day one, which was this man was acting in self-defense. We made that decision to support his actions based on a personal knowledge of these four punks. And you know what gets me the most upset is let's look at where these four punks are today. Everyone's talking about, well, does Bernard Goetz have dirt under his fingernails? Did he maybe not sweep his kitchen floor last week? Look at what James Ramseur just did the other night. A whole kidnapping hoax by the police department wasted the time of over 30 police officers in the South Bronx where they're badly needed just to see what the reaction was so he could hype his movie deal. Now, who put him up to this whole idea of the movie deal? That biggest sleazebag of them all, William Kunstler. And if Kunstler was so concerned about his poor, quote-unquote, shooting victims, why wasn't he on their bandwagon from the very beginning? As soon as he smelled money, he jumped in. But I'm not through with the four. Where is Barry Allen? He's not at the casinos in Atlantic City. He's out on Rikers Island, serving time for another crime. Daryl Cabey. Oh, how nice he came out of the coma. Maybe he can tell us where he got the sawed-off shotgun, where he stole the sheepskin coat that he was wearing the afternoon that they attacked Bernard Goetz. And Troy Canty, Bob? Well, he's not out on the trains this evening. He's in a drug and alcohol rehabilitation program. I wonder how many more times these punks are going to get arrested, are going to get in trouble before this whole Bernard Goetz trial even gets started. And for a grand jury to take seriously the testimony of some guy who is kukala-mungala in the head enough to stage his own kidnapping for the thrill, I mean, come on. This is just a total travesty of justice. I can't walk down a block in a street in New York this afternoon or tonight without people stopping me every step of the way and saying, we got to do something because, again, look at the victim. He cannot even give his testimony before the grand jury, but they give James Ramseur, a liar, a thief, a punk, a scumbag, immunity. And Troy Canty, you see the pictures of them. These guys are not up for candidates of Boy Scouts of America Good Citizenship Awards. And then let's not even get started on Morgenthau. He's using Bernard Goetz as a scapegoat for his botched up thing with Elliot Gross, for his botched up thing with Eleanor Bumpers, for his botched up Michael Stewart, his botched up everything else. And he's using Bernard Goetz as a scapegoat in this very highly political year.
That's Lisa Sliwa, ladies and gentlemen, who is not ambiguous at all, is she? Lisa Sliwa is with us. Lisa, I have an advertisement from, you should pardon the expression, New York Newsday. It says, this Sunday, the life of Daryl Cabey. From his run-ins with the law to the confrontation with Bernard Goetz to the hospital bed where he remains paralyzed, Daryl Cabey has had a troubled life. Tomorrow, New York Newsday explores the life and times of Daryl Cabey through interviews with his friends, teachers, prosecutors, and relatives.
What about his victims? What about all the people that have been victimized by him on the trains? Are they going to be interviewed? The guy he held up with in a sawed-off shotgun in those projects in the Bronx, are they going to interview him? Maybe, Bob, we should get out the box of Kleenex and the crying towel and feel so sorry for this hoodlum who's lying in a hospital bed because he went out looking for trouble. If we're going to bend over backwards, and this is what irks us the most about this whole case, if we are going to bend over backwards and say, oh, pity poor Daryl Cabey, poor Troy Canty. Yes, we know they turned out to be scumbags, human mutants, as you have called them, jerks. It's because of their environment. Well, what about Bernard Goetz? If we're going to bend over backwards for the criminals, shouldn't we also bend over to the same degree for the victims and say, this guy had already been mugged. You've seen Bernard Goetz on television. He looks like such a wimp. The guy is so pathetic that you feel he needs to have some armed bodyguards around with him just to walk down 14th Street through Union Square. So can't we give at least the same consideration, the same sensitivity to the victims? I'm tired of the people in this city being suckers for these criminals who are running a con job on us, who are appealing to all of the bleeding heart liberals saying, oh, I came from such a bad neighborhood. That's why I'm a criminal. Well, we have a lot of people in the Guardian Angels who come from those very same neighborhoods. They don't use that line. They're out there working their behinds off, trying to get a job, trying to educate themselves, and trying to help people. So if people from the very same projects that this Daryl Cabey and Troy Canty jerks came from can be Guardian Angels, then these idiots have no excuse whatsoever. And I'm tired of everybody thinking that we, the law-abiding citizens, are a bunch of suckers, that we're going to buy this sympathy line. And you know, the criminals have got it down pat. They go, they get arraigned, they're in jail, they ask for psychiatrists. Oh, life was so rough when I could only rip off 45 gold chains a day during rush hour. Times were really, really hard when I could only make $500 dealing dope to the junior high kids. And we, like suckers, pay our tax dollars to give them psychiatrists, to give them job training, to give them counseling, and we do nothing for the victims.
Rationalism, as Lee says, would be hard to make a rational statement. But I think that the issue boils down to a very legal issue, whether he, fought for self-defense or not, which should be decided by a grand jury. And people seem to be ignoring the legal matter of this, and, it's just going down to an emotional issue, whether he had a right or didn't have a right. But the question...
You talk about people ignoring a legal matter. Wasn't it a legal matter when the first grand jury refused to indict on these grounds? Or was that not legal?
Almost definitely, but, I'm sure that his attorneys are going to appeal the...
And shouldn't people become riled if there's what they sincerely believe a miscarriage of justice?
No, Robert, I would like to...
Are you so cold a person that when you see a miscarriage of justice, it doesn't disturb you at all?
No, I definitely...
Are you so above it?
No.
Are you so beyond it?
No, but people...
Are you an observer of life or a participant?
No, I'm definitely a participant of life. But people seem to be saying that they do not care what the law says. What they do care is, did he have the moral right?
Mrs. Sliwa never said she didn't care what the law said. She feels the law is being abused in this case, right, Lisa?
Absolutely. And Bob, one other thing that we have to really consider...
Did the jury decide this?
The first grand jury did decide not to indict him. A second grand jury was called, which is a very highly unusual step. But taking the legal issue, which has turned into a tremendous societal issue, what kind of a message do you think the actions of James Ramseur and the second grand jury are sending to all of the other punks and hoodlums and criminals that infest our city day and night? What it is saying to them, let me finish, what it is saying to them is it's okay to rob people, it's okay to mug people, it's okay to hold up people with guns. You'll get away with it. You'll get a movie deal. You'll get some sleazy lawyer like Kunstler to defend you and file a multi-million-dollar suit. In other words, they're learning that crime pays big time now. I wouldn't be surprised if James Ramseur goes out on the train and tries to mug somebody again because it's going to make a nice subplot for his supposed movie deal. What kind of a message are we sending to the criminals? That is where the great harm lies.
Can I just have one question from both of you, please? My question is, if he was legally wrong, do you still feel he had the right of taking that gun and shooting those 4 punks?
That isn't the question. The question is, did he fear for his life? Was he acting in what he sincerely believed was a case of self-defense?
Well,
and that will be the case that will be presented by Mr. Slotnick in a court of law.
Right, and the legal question is, did he have a reasonable belief to feel that he was threatened? Now, obviously, what Bernard Goetz was feeling at that particular time may have been different from what you or I or somebody else was feeling, depending upon how much we have been victimized by crime, how sensitive an individual we are. We are saying that any individual in this country has a right to defend themselves against violent crime, and it's time we start doing it because these criminals are taking over. Well, I doubt you're going to find William Kunstler in the subways.
Travel for the Cadillac.
Well, he claims to have such a tremendous sensitivity for the black community, and yet he's living in Greenwich Village, in the best part of the village, in a townhouse with all kinds of electronic devices and cameras and everything like that. And it just seems as though he's run out of cop killers, terrorists, and other anti-American type of people to defend, and now he's going after the common street criminal. We cannot underestimate the point that Bob just made, which is the impact that this whole entire affair is having on the average street punk. They identify with Troy Canty, they identify with Daryl Cavey, they identify with James Ramseur, and when they see these guys literally getting off the hook and getting paid to get off the hook, I think you're going to see, as a result of this whole thing, subway crime now going up dramatically and drastically.
Big woman is really destroying her reputation. I mean, Tommy, she gets down there and she's talking about expletives. I don't even want to go into it because it's degrading.
Well, we know what she said. She just said it.
To a woman like that, Bob.
Expletives? What expletives did I use?
It's too heavy for you, Mrs.
Well, what did she say? If I have a right to ask, since it's my program, you're saying she said it on.
Scumbag, which I don't think is very becoming a young lady. And to get to the point I really called about, this woman is an imposter. She sits in front of this microphone tonight trying to give you the impression that she's Miss Know-It-All about the legal system. When the police asked her and her husband to join their system so they would know where they were and where their people were, they didn't want to become part of that. They wanted to do their own thing. They want to be the legal system for the city of New York or the country of the United States. And then this woman...
A minute, hold it a minute. You start out very sanctimoniously putting her down, and here you are creating a falsehood, and you're not playing fair.
Well, wait a minute.
You're saying she made an accusation she never made.
Tried to make everyone believe that, or lead them to believe that...
She's no James Ramseur. She didn't fake anything.
She doesn't know anything about it. She wasn't in the grand jury. How did she get the nerve to get on your microphone trying to lead the public into thinking, well, now they want to get into his wallet? Now, what is this wallet thing? She's just running her mouth, Bob, and I think you ought to get her off the air.
Well, listen, I'll tell you what, pal. I'll run my program. You run yours, okay?
So shut up.
Classy guy. That was a very intellectual response he just hit me with. Shut up. Okay, I can't talk anymore till tomorrow's broadcast. The guy just told me to shut up, so I'll have to remain silent. But until tomorrow, this is Bob Grant, reminding you, your influence counts. Use it. Get Gaddafi. A whole host of things to talk about. Hey, how about John Law and his precious TWU, Transit Workers Union? I have to laugh at that word, workers. People who are employed by the TA and who get paid those big fat salaries, big fat pensions, and all those fringe benefits don't look to me like they're working. But there's a threat of a subway strike, transit strike.
I mean, he's going for a subway ride, and he was by 4 blacks, and he shot them. I mean, it's a natural response. I mean, wouldn't you do it?
Well, of course, no, I wouldn't, because I despise guns so much. But I would want to do it, I'm sure. But even though I feel the way I do, I certainly understand how Bernard Goetz felt, and I understand how most people feel. Most people are sick and tired of not being able to do something that should be a simple right, which is a right, and that is to travel about without fear, to live in this city, in this state, in this country without fear. And people are sick and tired of being afraid of all these thugs, these hooligans, these predators, these monsters, these creators of mayhem, these marauders, these vandals, these mutants. They're sick and tired of it, and that's why they've rallied to Bernard Goetz's side. But the Eddie Koches and the Mario Cuomos, they don't understand that yet. They still don't get the picture. It's a shame that you have to look at the paper and see the likes of James Ramseur holding the New York Post in his hand and saying, Goetz victim fakes kidnap. He's holding the paper, and he says, I just wanted to test the system. What is he writing, a master's thesis on the legal system in New York?
Well, you see, that's right, Bob.
Well, his own, let me tell you, I hope Ramseur, nothing happens to him, because I want to see him on that stand. I think he's going to do nothing but good for the Goetz side, because when he gets on that stand, he and Canty, naturally, what they really are will be shown for one and all to see. You're calling on the Long Island line, Lou?
Long Island, that's right, Bob. I'm a New York City detective, Bob, and this case has me really perplexed. You know, I've seen a lot of stuff. I've been to a lot of grand juries, and I just think this is a whole travesty of justice, personally, what's happening to Goetz. 3 miscreants in Queens County, and they were responsible for committing about 30 robberies.
Uh-huh.
And one of their victims was Senator Christopher Dodd. And I had lineups all through the night. And I had a special lineup for him and his companion the next morning. And his companion...
A very lovely young woman, I understand.
Yes, she was. But he never showed up.
He never showed up?
Never showed up. You know, and these are the same politicians.
Well, maybe he was busy writing a love letter to Daniel J. Ortega.
Got the feedback from the public. His crowd. The people that would probably vote him back into office 9 times out of 10. And boy, he walked out of here. Wasn't he a sheep? All of a sudden, Goetz, oh yes, he's the victim. I might add, Mr. Lipsick, that night was a tremendous turnabout. The next morning, you pick up the Daily News. Mayor Koch has a change of heart. We've seen him have quite a few different changes of heart as he's filming these cameo appearances for Saturday Night Live, the Muppet movies. I guess it's hard to know when you're in the real world or the phony world. But Mayor Koch called Bernie Goetz a flake. What is a guy who gets dressed in a sequin jumpsuit with a pigeon on his head being photographed on every tabloid in America? This is our mayor, and he calls Bernie Goetz a flake? When was the last time, Muppet Mayor Ed, you were down in the slime and grime and had to deal with the terrorists, the mutants, the creatures, the buzzards, and the vultures? When you decide to come down with the real people and rub elbows with the average Sals and Joes who elect you into office, then I might accept the shift. But for all indications, from what I can see, it's hard to know when Ed Koch is trying to be real or trying to be funny. If you,
I want to address ourselves to one other point here, and that is, at the outset of the program, I said we had tried to get a hold of Al Sharpton, who wants to be known as the Reverend, and the media dutifully complies.
He's probably running a 3-card Molly game down on 42nd Times Square.
We couldn't get a hold of him. We couldn't reach him. But listen to this ludicrous quote, a quote that I think is actionable. And I'm going to ask you, I'm taking advantage of the fact we have a keen legal mind here, an expert, Harry Lipsick, ladies and gentlemen. Harry, is it not true that in order to be called a murderer, you have to actually murder somebody?
Without question. In the literal use of the word, surely so.
All right, here's the Reverend Al Sharpton of the National Youth Movement. And remember, when you have to go to the washroom, they call that a movement. He said, I think it's a disgrace that an accused murderer is walking free. The judge didn't even raise his bail. I didn't know that Bernhard Goetz was accused of murder. Also went on to say, and this is incredible, talking about Bernhard Goetz, he's no better than Hinckley. Can you imagine that? He said he's no better than Hinckley.
What a difference.
Well, you know, he got mad because it deducted 4 members from his United Youth Movement that day. Mr. Goetz took 4 of his members, and naturally, he would be obviously angry if he was down 4 members. I'm sure he can't wait for Canty, Ramseur, Adams, and KB to join back in the ranks.
You're right about the New York Times. It is a sanctimonious, hypocritical organ. Their editorial writers, all of them on the 8th floor, really are so arrogant that they wrote, I think, the most absurd, ludicrous editorial concerning the death of Major Nicholson the other day. instead of blaming Russia, they blame the superpowers. Well, there's only two superpowers, the Soviet Union and the United States. And I asked them again, I'm echoing what I said yesterday in our brief encounter on the air yesterday. I'm echoing what I said yesterday when I asked, has the United States shot down a civilian airliner with over 270 people aboard? Has the United States wantonly, needlessly shot any Soviet? Answer, no, both times. So how dare the New York Times talk about the superpowers have to come away from their violence? It's not the United States that's inflicting anything on the Soviet Union. I don't know if you read that editorial the other day or if you read Dorothy Rabinowitz's critique of it, but...
Hi, Bob. The last time I spoke to you, I mentioned some statements made by Gene Kirkpatrick back in 1983.
By the way, Ralph, you're going to be persona non grata.
Why?
I tell you why. You're getting a little boring, and I don't know what kind of life you lead. It must be a very empty life. I hear you call me, and then you repeat the same question on the broadcast following this one. As I'm driving home after midnight, I hear you with the same comment to the following talk show host.
Well, the fact is, the MX missile vote was coming up the next day, and I thought it...
But, Ralph, what else in your life do you do besides call talk shows?
I think that's kind of ridiculous.
No, it's not ridiculous. You call the Bob Grant program, and I have a right to ask you. You don't have to answer, but I have the right to ask. What else do you do besides call talk shows?
I do a lot of other things, and I don't always call talk shows. And if I call two in the same night because there was something important happening the next day, I think it's ridiculous of you to try to make bad assumptions on that.
But I just feel that it's all very pointless if you're going to waste your time talking to me, and then you got to call the guy after me.
Well, you didn't...
Make up your mind, one or the other.
Well, you certainly didn't give me any chance to speak, and that's why I called after that.
It didn't give you any chance to speak?
No, you didn't, because you made...
Ralph, you went on and on and on and on, Ralph.
Well, what you did was you stuck some words in my mouth and claimed I was saying something I was not saying.
Oh, really?
Cut me off.
All right, what would you like to say tonight, Ralph, on Volume 1?
Well, I just wanted to rectify what you did last time, because I had brought...
Rectify?
Yes. Because you had brought up...
Ralph, do you really think that rectification is needed?
Yes, I certainly do.
As a matter of fact, you're absolutely right. I'll tell you why. Because all week long, people have been saying, I'm waiting for Ralph to call again. People have called the station. They've talked to everybody here. They've talked to Denise. They've talked to everybody. When is Ralph going to be calling again as a follow-up on his MX commentary? As a matter of fact, you're listed in the New York Times today, Ralph. It says, Ralph, MX commentary, part 2 on the Bob Grant Show. Great percentage of students who don't drop out, who aren't truant, who do become what we call graduates, only have certificates of attendance. Do you know how few, what a small percentage of students are passing regents? We have given in. We have surrendered to the mutants, to the lowlifes out there, who instead of saying to the youngster, hey, wait a minute, you got a bad grade, what's the matter with you? Instead they get mad at the teacher. Really?
Oh, my name is Sam.
Isn't that funny? Okay, we'll take you, Sam.
All right. Now,
I'm sorry, I was misinformed.
Paisan, Mr. Scrapper, are you listening?
So far?
All right. A few weeks ago, you made a...
Wait a minute, what are you shouting?
Security.
What's this guy shouting for?
Hello?
Yes.
A few weeks ago, you made a statement by Social Security that the people 72 years old can earn all the money they want and not lose their Social Security. You made a mistake. President Reagan, he reduced that law to 70 years old. January 1st, 1984.
Oh, so it's even better.
Right? You listen, please speak a little louder so I can hear you, Paisan. I'm your Paisan.
Okay, thank you. That's the end of that. You think I want to take that much? The guy's deaf, so he's shouting. I'm listening to him, and he's saying, speak louder. He's telling me, while I'm listening to him, he's telling me to speak louder.
Someone gave me a Xerox copy of it. Was about a morning TV talk show. and it deals with a very popular company that makes household products, and they put a certain symbol on all their products, and they claim that the symbol stands for the Church of Satan.
Oh, that's absurd. All these, you know, the little bunch of idiots and vicious little worms out there with this trying to say that Procter & Gamble has the symbol of Satan. It's absolutely absurd.
Oh, it is, huh? I just didn't know whether to believe it or not to.
You know what? I'll tell you something. I'm going to become a dictator tomorrow. I'm going to take over this country. There's so many dummies out there. So many dummies, and you're one of them, Louise. Shame on you.
Oh, my God.
Shame on you for believing such nonsense.
I figured I had to find out the truth from someone.
Well, you got it, Louise. Now, don't ever believe such nonsense again. Remember the story of the emperor who had no clothes?
Yes.
Well, that's what it reminds me of. You know, some of these so-called minority leaders remind me of that story. You know, you see it, but you're not supposed to comment that you see it. Well, good for Governor Cuomo for not folding like a cheap camera with this onslaught of these imperious, arrogant creatures. This is Getzlon, Bob Grant. Hello, Billy.
Hello, Bob. How you doing?
Billy. Hey.
You know, I've been trying to call you for a week and a half.
What happened?
I tell you, your line is as hot as a bookmaker's number.
Except for tonight.
Well, I don't know about tonight. I knew the outcome of this guy. I didn't even watch it.
I don't know why. I don't know what it is tonight. But tonight, I can't get arrested.
You can't get arrested?
No.
Listen, go in front of Bob Morgenthau's office. He'll find something to pull you in on.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about, Bob. This is really a malavaguda that they did here. This Bob Morgenthau. He ought to be ashamed of himself. Although, you know, when I look back at it and I say to myself, he's been made to be made a fool of for so many years. He's been trying to nail organized crime guys for years. They make him like a ping pong ball in court. They walk out of his court all the time. The guy is a sham. The guy is probably in a sham of that hell. Organized crime guys from the 5 boroughs have walked all over this man's face. So he had to get some sham, and Bernie Goetz is the poor boy dealer that's going to pay for it. Because he's been made like a doormat. Bob Morgenthau is the most inept DA we have in the country. He couldn't lock up Willie Sutton after Willie Sutton dropped the bag on his front stoop. That's how fast this guy is, Bobby. This guy is probably a malad in the head for him. Listen to me, Bob. You know I love to blow off some steam. But this guy, it's really, I hope it comes back to haunt him. And I hope after he did this favor for his good friends up across 123rd, I hope it comes back to it. They give it to him, Maloika, in the neck. I hope they double deal him and they throw him out with the next day's garbage. Because this guy, Bob, I got no use for him. And I hope he's listening. I hope the guy, Morgenthau, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should have been on that subway. Or one of your relatives should have been on that subway. And I would have seen how you would have reacted to them doing something in self-defense. I would have wanted to see it. But no, we said it last week, Bob. He was going to be pressured by the people uptown. And you know who those people are? These 2 guys that look like they're wearing 2 Carmine Molino bad wigs. Al Sharpton and Denny Farrell and Reverend Daughtry. They look like they're wearing wigs from Carmine Molino's place that he threw out. Made of dog's hair from the back leg. These 2 guys. Bob, I'm sick of it. You know, you asked me a couple of months ago, do I carry anything? I'm going to tell you something. I'm being honest with you. I probably will carry something now. And I'm a scrappy guy. I'm ready to go 24 hours. You know I got your back covered, so.
Oh, I know that. That's why I'm not, you know, I don't have to worry about Brooklyn.
Bob, if you ever call me in the middle of the night, you know, the Lincoln comes out with my 2 cousins, the No-Neck brothers, in the back seat.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we come out with the smoke glass windows and we get them. Don't worry.
Hey, listen, I got a list of some people I want you to...
George gave me a couple of people he wanted first. But listen, this is really a serious situation. This Bobby Morgenthau, he ought to be ashamed of himself. I really can't. Where did this guy, Victor Flores, come from?
Well, that's a good question.
Where was he the first time around?
Yeah, that's...
Where was he? What was he selling ices on 9th Avenue, 52nd?
Well, you know the funny thing.
What was he doing?
Boy, you know, you ought to open at the Atlantis down there in Atlantic City. I mean, you're really hot tonight, Billy. And he comes on real strong now. As a matter of fact, he says the kids were frightened, backing off, trying to get away. There was no reason to shoot them.
There was no reason.
Yeah.
Like again we said, Bob, if Bernie Goetz didn't do what he did, this guy would have been another number in the back page on the opposite side of the Potomkin ad, and the next day people would have forgot about him. He would have been just another victim, caught on a subway, killed, and left there, unidentified. They probably would have ripped his wallets and money and whatever. Nobody would have known who the man was. And this is what's happening in the city. I would like to know how many people did these four guys get and either maim or beat up and leave somewhere. I would love to see, just for the hell of it, how many people they destroyed mentally and physically and humiliated on subways, these four punks. This is what I mean about this Bob Morgenthau, the doormat from the DA's office. It's really a sin. And when I hear people, you know, I'll tell you something. I take my hat off to this fellow Warren.
Yes, a Bed-Stuy.
He was the fellow that had the problem with the ring of stolen cars.
That's right.
Is that the same gentleman?
Yeah, same gentleman.
Well, Warren, if you're listening, buddy, I'm not too far away from you. I'm up on the other end. I'm under the gangplank going to Staten Island. And I take my hat off to you. Because there are some problems in this city, Bobby. There really are. And it's making people like myself and Warren and people all over the city sick.
Well, Billy, I'm glad you were able to get through after a week and a half of trying. Thank you very much. You're in top form tonight.
Stop the blonde, and I got your back covered.
Okay, grazie.
Okay.
All right, that's Billy of Bensonhurst, and...
Calvin Pete, the golfer, with his...
let me tell you, life is too short to waste it watching golf matches, regardless of who's playing.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you were a non-golfer.
Not only am I a non-golfer, I despise the game. I despise it, I loathe it, and I hate golfers. Because all my life, I've known of people who've used golf not to go out and enjoy themselves, but to have something to talk about, to have something to brag about, and to use it as a club, no pun intended, to climb the corporate ladder. I knew of guys in this business who sounded like this on the radio, but they got a lot of big shows because they were playing golf with the right people.
For sure.
Respect? I think hockey players are a bunch of maniacs, a bunch of sadistic maniacs.
Right.
I think there's something wrong with most hockey players. They're violent creatures. They want to harm each other, hitting them with sticks. This Billy Smith of the Islanders ought to be barred from the game for life. I saw a slow-mo of what he did to a Chicago Blackhawk player. It's outrageous. Heck, if he did it on the street, he'd be doing, he'd be doing 2 years in Ossining. Oh, too much.
Agreed.
And the avaricious owners, who want to buy championships, they deserve it when all these prima donnas flop. To play again. Let me tell you this. Ray Knight will never see regular Major League action again. The guy's got an elbow that is just so full of bone chips, forget about it.